US President Joe Biden says negotiations are on the brink of a breakthrough in Gaza that would end the war and bring hostages home. Details are expected to be finalised tonight at a key meeting in Doha involving Israeli and Hamas representatives. US officials say the potential deal has been a year in the making and they're hopeful of getting it over the line.
Grief and fear turn to anger and frustration.
Where is your shame? You murdered our girl and you sit here and calculate prices?
Families of the Israeli hostages taken by Hamas on October 7th reach breaking point. The Israeli government's far-right finance minister has threatened to quit the Netanyahu government if a ceasefire and hostage deal is struck. But in the dying days of Joe Biden's administration, the president says a deal is on the brink of becoming a reality.
We're pressing hard to close this. The deal we have structured would free the hostages, halt the fighting, provide security to Israel, and allow us to significantly surge humanitarian assistance to the Palestinians who've suffered terribly in this war.
Negotiations are said to be at an advanced stage, with details presented by Qatar to both sides in Doha. It's a deal that was outlined 8 months ago. What's changed is the likely shakeup of Middle East politics when Donald Trump takes office and the threats he's made to Hamas if Israeli hostages aren't freed before he becomes president.
It's very clear that President Trump threatening Hamas and making it clear that there is going to be hell to pay is part of the reason why we've made progress.
Any deal will involve a halt in fighting, the withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza, the return of Israeli hostages and the release of Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails. The time frame and scale of such an operation still being negotiated.
Israel wants a hostage deal. Israel is working with our American friends in order to achieve a hostage deal, and soon we will know whether the other side wants the same thing.
More than 46,000 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza since the deadly attacks by Hamas-led militants on Israel in 2023 ignited the war.
Despite promises of progress during prior negotiations amounting to very little, there is a sense that this time it's different, that the appetite for conflict has long faded and something needs to change. A resolution can't come soon enough for those who've been devastated by the fighting, and a ceasefire and hostage deal won't be the end as the legacy of this war lingers for a long time to come. Matthew Doran, ABC News, Jerusalem.
So there are hopes that the deal could be announced as soon as tonight. As the ABC's John Lyons explains, the renewed momentum has been driven by the goals of two American presidents aligning.
What's happening right now in the Middle East could be described as the tale of two presidents. Based on the indications of key players, we could be within days of a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. It may, of course, be yet another false dawn, but this could be something very different. This time, outgoing President Joe Biden and incoming President Donald Trump both want this ceasefire to happen. Rarely have these two men wanted the same outcome. For Biden, he could say that in his final days in office, he brought an end to this dreadful war. For Trump, it would mean that when he walks back into the White House, that he has one less problem to deal with. It's clear from Donald Trump's recent statements that he has many higher priorities. The first of these is the war in Ukraine. While he's now backing away from his claim that he could solve that war in 24 hours, it's obvious that Trump is intrigued by Russian leader Vladimir Putin and wants to test his mettle. Trump has also signalled his interest in confronting China with 60% tariffs, border security and the mass expulsion of illegals from the US. And then he wants to think about whether the US should seize the Panama Canal and Greenland. The issue of Gaza, of course, will not go away. The international community has not even begun to consider how to rebuild from rubble a strip of land that houses 2.3 million Palestinians. But for one of the most transactional presidents in modern times, what would he rather do? Begin a generational rebuilding of a Palestinian enclave, or buy or even invade Greenland?